Hello again, guys, and welcome back to another super long video. Actually, the last couple of videos I posted were extremely long, so I have delayed the start of this video until we got to the final 12. Actually, if you take a look at our position here, there are 14 people left. And I figured either I was going to start at the final 12 or I was going to start right around 10 p.m. And right now it is exactly 10 p.m. So thank you for stopping in and checking out this video. My name is John Rodriguez, aka invAAsive on PokerStars, playing in another one of Ugly Tuna's Internet Challenge tournaments. Today is Wednesday, January 20-something, I guess. We have been playing this tournament. I think this tournament started around 8 o'clock. We sat down with about 4,500 chips. Starting stacks are, I believe, 5,000 starting stacks. Blinds go up every 15 minutes, so we are currently in the 100-200 with 25 annies. Average stack right now is roughly 8,200 chips. This tournament started with 23 players. We are down to the final 14. So we come back and we take a look at jacks here, and hopefully one of our opponents decides that he wants to spaz out from the small blind. That would just be wonderful if he says, let's just spaz out from the small blind. I don't know what he's tanking with, because it's a very simple decision, either call or fold. I don't think I just want to allow my opponent to be limping in, so you know what, I think I made a mistake allowing my opponent to limp in. But I think I'm just going to be checking and raising my opponent if he decides to bet any chips. Since he has decided that it's time to bet some chips, let's bet an amount that we think... You know what? I don't even care. I don't even care if he calls or not. I think it's going to look fishy no matter what we do. So I think I'll just make it 1,000 more. But, you know, honestly, you know, Yankee is, you know, not the most athletic poker player. That is, he doesn't have all the moves, so I do expect him to be insta-folding to any raise that I have, especially on that board. That board, 4, 5, 6, hits my range a whole lot more than it hits his range. But we'll get into all that in a little bit. How you guys doing today? I'm having a great day. I went to P.F. Chang's for dinner tonight. If you guys haven't been over to P.F. Chang's, actually over in Nanuet, there is a nice new mall that they built, and they added a few new restaurants, BJ's Brewhouse and Pizzeria, and P.F. Chang's right next door, and the food was amazing. Was able to kind of hang out with the family, which is always nice. I'm a little bit stuffed on Chinese food, but you know what they say, right? You can always just eat more later. You know, you're never really totally full on Chinese. But anyways, we didn't think, well, I didn't think that I was going to be making this tournament. Unfortunately, you can't really late reg for these tournaments, so, you know, I had to register for this tournament sometime around like 5 o'clock in the afternoon, knowing it wasn't going to start until 8. And I just didn't know how I was going to do after a bunch of P.F. Chang's and some margaritas and stuff like that, so, you know, we've kind of settled out right now. Our stack is relatively nice, considering we haven't really had any really premium hands. In fact, the pocket jacks that you just saw was probably the best hand. Aside from ace-king suited, as far as pairs are concerned, we haven't had queens, kings, or aces yet, so jacks has been the highest pair that we have received from the gifts of PokerStars. So we are doing pretty well. A lot of our info tells us that we are seeing pots, seeing a flop 25% of the time, which in a 9-handed game is kind of frequently, but not so much. I think most of the times where I've been seeing flops has been out of the big blind. So 6 out of the 11 times when I was in the big blind I saw a flop, and 5 out of 11 times when I was in the small blind. So 11 of the 22 times we've seen a flop has been from either the small blind or the big blind. So we are playing super tight, basically trying to balance our range. We showed up in a tournament yesterday, a 6-handed tournament, which I've yet to post the video for, but I think I'm going to post the video in a little bit. We came in second place in a 6-handed tournament, and we played like poo-poo, caca. We played terribly. We got really, really lucky. I keep saying we, right? Like, it's definitely not we. I'm saying, you know, you and me, we means me and you, me and the people who are viewing this video right now. So if you were watching along, you know, with the video, that's who I'm referring to. So I played really bad. I actually sucked out on rivers at least 3 times when my tournament life was at stake, and also was sucked out on. So it was a very yo-yo-y, up and down tournament for me. I was, at one point we were 5-handed, and I was down to, I think, 3 big blinds, 5-handed, and I was given pocket jacks on the button, and I was able to triple up there and run it up to a 2nd place finish. So that's always better than a 5th place finish. But anyways, we have a goal here, obviously, to make the final table. We can't win this tournament, right, until we make the final table. So, you know, our goal is to sort of, you know, nice and easy, kind of take it slow. Slow and steady is the hashtag that Ugly Tuna here uses on Facebook. Follow Ugly Tuna at uglytuna@facebook.com. You can follow me at Johnny Rockland on Twitter. I don't really do a whole lot of tweeting, but I do try and pay attention to all the things that are going on in the poker world. There's, you know, a lot of poker news that happens. Obviously, I like to keep track of a few of my favorite poker pros. Jason Somerville being one of them, Daniel Negreanu being everybody's favorite poker pro. But there's all kinds of fun stuff that happens in the poker world, and I use Twitter to kind of keep in touch with the news. As for today, we are playing some familiar faces, people that we are extremely familiar with, their styles of play. We also are playing against a player here in Yankee2344 who we have no notes on and play very infrequently. So Yankee2344 is kind of an X factor. I have been watching his play for a little while, and you know, I think, you know, I made a play on him just recently when I had pocket jacks, kind of check raising him, and you know, I think he just plays relatively straightforward at this point. He's not making a whole lot of mistakes. Rich NYC is on our left here. He has been playing extremely tight. Very rarely is he putting chips in the middle. He's really holding on to this 10K chip stack, and I don't blame him. Youuuu is given the most action at this table. As you can see right here, he is cold calling the 555 chips. It would not surprise me to see him fold to this 2,000 chip bet, just because I don't think he's very strong when he makes this call. But you know, we'll see. We'll see if he wants to make the call. So he ends up calling with extremely weak holdings and sucks out, hits a jack here on the flop. Just really gross. The ace is vindication for Yankees all-in with ace-queen suited. So, like I said, Youuuu making this call, you know, he gets married to his hands and, you know, isn't really thinking about what his opponent has a lot of the time. He's just looking at his card and saying, well, let's gamble. So we have a little bit of action being given from Youuuu. Probably about an hour ago, Lou had about 13,000 in chips. He's now down to a little bit under 4,000 chips. And currently we are doing pretty well with our chip stack, but I don't know if there's going to be a lot of weak spots where we're going to be getting a lot of chips. For example, I don't think Rich is going to be giving us a lot of chips without us, you know, having a really premium hand against his really premium hand. Tuna may decide to give me a little bit of action, but so far he's been kind of quiet. All in RU is Hector. He is, you know, he's been sort of up and down with his chip stack. But I'm going to be limping here with the 6-4 and hopefully seeing a flop that I like. Not exactly sure how I want to play the 6-4 if I miss. Like, if it checks to me, you know, I actually really like this bet from Tuna because this very rarely hits any of our ranges. Scoops decides that he's going to snap call, so that just leaves the door open for me to get away. I think Tuna checks here, and I think Scoops continuation bets. Since he doesn't continuation bet, God knows what Tuna has. You know, I think Tuna was just looking at a spot where maybe he, you know, maybe he can just push people off their hands with a bet. But I do like this bet from Tuna. It's kind of a strange bet because normally his bets are a little bit more calculated, but I think that was a half pot size bet. But anyways, I mean, if Scoops is floating and not calling that bet, I have no idea what Scoops is in the hand with, because normally when you float behind on an opponent, you float with an ace. And if you have an 8 in that spot, I think you're always calling with the full house that's out here. So, you know, if Scoops ever has an 8, I think he's always calling the river bet. If Scoops has, maybe if he has like something like pocket 4s or something, you know, maybe he's just a little nervous or intimidated by the ace out there and the 8 out there. But again, it's just very difficult to put Scoops on a hand. Every time we go away, we come back, it looks like we have a premium hand. So I'm going to go ahead and raise this up to 600, and hopefully we get Lou to kind of spaz out and put the rest of his chips in the middle, since he decides against it. Well, actually, he hasn't made a decision yet. We have made it to pair status, so I think I'm just going to be checking. I'm not necessarily afraid of an 8. And, you know, Rich more than likely will be checking behind. If Rich does bet, you know, the question is whether or not I put him on an 8. And since I can't put him on an 8 right now, I mean, there's really no flush draws to be had out there, so I don't know. I mean, if he has an ace, is he going to fold? I don't think if he has an ace, he's going to fold to this raise. So, you know, like if he has exactly ace-queen or something, you know, maybe he just calls, but, you know, obviously our hand is just super strong, so unless our opponent actually has an 8, there's no way he can really continue. So the problem that I have is if I just call the bet, then I think if he doesn't have an ace, he just shuts down and never puts another dollar in the pot, because there's really nothing out there for me to be calling unless I actually have an ace. So, you know, when we check to our opponent and our opponent decides to make a half pot size bet, I mean, I really like the bet from Rich because most of the time, you know, since I was a pre-flop raiser and I check and I see the ace out there, a lot of the time I'm just giving up on the hand. And so when we check and he leads out with actually a little bit more than a half pot size bet, I think if we just call here, what exactly are we calling with? Like, are we ever calling with pocket queens? Maybe worth calling with pocket queens. But even if we have pocket queens, it doesn't. Rich is going to have a hard time putting us on a hand that's going to fold to another bet, especially if he's bluffing here. Like if he ever has king queen, you know, this is the exact total amount he's going to be investing in this hand, and that's it. So so I do like my raise there. You know, a lot of worse aces. You know, if any ace continues, it's a worse ace, right? Unless it's ace 8. So a lot of worse aces are going to continue if I just make that little 1.5x raise. But I'm not going to say that we made the maximum on that hand. Kind of unfortunate that we end up folding the ace-queen. I think my sort of mentality in this poker game is to really stay off people's radar as far as players that are getting active. Like, I don't want players to believe that I'm active because I have been doing a lot of bluffing. Obviously, that you guys haven't really seen it, but I have been doing a lot of bluffing, and I think a lot of my bluffs are getting through because of how inactive I've been. So I've been making 3 bets pre-flop and 3 bets post-flop, really putting my opponents to some tough tests, and those 3 bets have been getting through. So I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that I'm not as active as some of the players who are at this table. So if I make a raise and then check raise my opponent making a bet, and then the very next hand I make another raise, I start to become on these players' active lists, and you know, I really, playing ace-queen out of position, didn't want to really get involved. When our opponent just kind of limps in here with 2,400, you would think that I'd be raising just for straight value, and maybe getting my opponent to fold worse. But I think Scoops has enough chips to where I can get in a lot of trouble by doubling him up. So we flopped pretty well here. I probably could be betting. In fact, I don't think I just want to not bet. So I'm just going to bet 200, and you know, maybe Scoops decides that he just has nothing and he's just going to go away. You know, if he does decide that he wants to continue, we're obviously not in bad shape because we have 4 hearts. So I don't mind just making that min bet there. I know it is kind of weak, and a lot of better players are going to exploit that bet a lot of the time. But I'm not putting Scoops on the type of player who's going to push back with air and make us fold. So it's not something I'm going to do against a lot of players, but I will do that against Scoops. Don't necessarily like this all-in bet, but what I can tell you is that if Lou really has a hand like ace-king, it's just a perfect bet because, you know, he's risking 3,000 chips, so you know, it's very unlikely that any of his opponents have, you know, a big pair or something like that. And if he takes us down without showdown, as it looks like he probably will, he's increasing his stack by 20% or more than 20%. So I really like this bet from Lou, regardless of the cards that he has. It's very difficult for his opponents to call him. I just don't think Tune is going to be just sticking 3,000 more chips out there without at least having like a pair of jacks or better. Maybe he has 9s in his range to call, but I just don't see it. So good bet, youuuu. So obviously, you know the goal is to make the final table. There's still 14 players left. Blinds and antes represent 500 chips every time it goes around. So some of these players are going to have to get a little bit more active. A player like Scoops only has about 10 big blinds now, so I'd expect his bets to be all-in bets. And here we go. He's decided he's going to ride here and try and pick up the 500 chips of dead money that are in the middle, and that's going to be sort of his move until he picks it up to about 3,500 chips. I think once he gets to about 20 big blinds, I think he's got to not be moving all in. But again, he has the perfect stack there to just be moving all in with, ace 6 or better. We have some plays in our bag of tricks that we have pulled out today. I pulled out a stop and go play today, which I haven't pulled out in a really long time. Again, I was pulling it out sort of by design. I was kind of trying to... I wish that the camera was running, but again, I've been posting so many of these really, really, like... I don't know what you want to call it, but they're just like super long videos. And when I post a super long video, I just feel like you guys hate it. So I don't know. Maybe I'm in a spot where I can be, doing the videos, long all the time. But I think some of my videos I'd like to be underneath 2 hours or right around the 2-hour range. So I just you did miss a couple of really good spots where I had some stop and go plays. And I made a bet, a squeeze play bet, which went through when I had a decent hand. I had ace queen suited, and I made a squeeze on someone who had opened the pot from early position, a middle position who had made a call, and I had a successful squeeze play. So again, I'm just trying to sort of, like any athlete before he before he goes and plays in the big game, you got to stretch your legs. You got to warm up a little bit. And I think some of the plays that I was making was just to warm up and just get familiar with some of the different fun things that we can do against our opponents. We do have a lot of time left in this tournament, right? So it's only 10 o'clock. Looks like we have a classic race here. Ace King suited is still 50% to win this pot, even though he's behind, down to 30%. And youuuu, unfortunately, is not going to win his race. I think, whether or not the money gets all in on pre-flop or post-flop, youuuu is definitely going to be riding with his hand. This is a very interesting dynamic here. Anybody who raises knows that they're going to be looked up by youuuu, so expect the next person to raise to have at least an ace high and or a pocket pair. King Jack I don't think is raising. So Rich raising here, he's got to expect that youuuu is going to be moving all in, so he's going to have to show his hand down. So yeah, shows up with ace high as he should, and he is drawing to king. Okay, so the jack holds up, and youuuu has successfully doubled up. Again, youuuu has been the most active player at this table. Doesn't surprise me that he's has this amount of chips right now. But if you're going to be raising, I like Rich's raise a lot, mostly because he knows he's going to be ahead of everything that youuu's moving all in with, unless youuuu just wakes up with a really good hand. But he knows that if his hand goes to showdown, he's going to be a favorite. So I really, really like this raise. And obviously, youuuu can... I kind of like youuu's all in there. He knows he's behind, but he's just kind of gambling and saying, fuck it. So I also want to apologize about the last video that I posted. I was kind of mean in the video. I think I was cursing out, and I was just super impatient. I think a lot of that comes from, just my... some nights are just like that, like some nights you just hate life, and some nights you just get tilted at the poker tables, and I was pretty tilted the last time I played poker. Obviously you guys haven't seen this video yet, but I will be posting it today, and who knows, I just want to apologize to anybody who may have been offended by the video that I put out, or that I'm about to put out. I suppose I could be, bleeping it out, but I don't know how to do that with my, I don't know how to do that with this software, is how to, like, bleep out some of the curse words that I used. Yeah, I probably could have defended with the Jack 6, it's 500 to win 1960. So 4-1. Would I have been ahead? Yes, but most likely I'm not ahead of either one of these players. So defending with the Jack-6 wasn't really in my range. Well, anyways, as far as our goals are concerned, I think my goal here in this tournament is just to really balance my range and sort of center my starting hand requirements. You know, you would say, John, you just had Ace Jack, and you know somebody had just basically made a min raise. Why wouldn't you apply pressure? You know, sometimes I will against certain opponents. I will. I do, you know, give credit to Hector for having a hand, not that's necessarily better than Ace Jack right this second, but I do give him credit for having a hand, and I was going to play him with Ace Jack offsuit from out of position, and I just really need to be smashing flops in order for that to ever be a profitable call. So for me it's really raise or fold to be playing Ace Jack in that spot, and I just didn't feel like raising. We are in a pretty good position here with our chip stack. We do have 11,000 chips. You know, our opponents really would like to have the amount of chips that we have, so I don't really want to be giving away chips. And I'm really like I said, like this whole video right now is really going to be me trying to balance my ranges. And really, if I'm going to showdown or have to showdown hands, I really would like to have some hands that make people say, oh, okay, you know, sometimes the invAAsive actually shows up with a hand. Because last time I played, I really was showing up with complete garbage hands. And got lucky in a few spots where I probably shouldn't have gotten lucky. And I was able to make some money on the deal, but I think I really ruined any table image that I probably had. And some of the players who were here at in this tournament saw the way that I was playing yesterday. And more than likely, you know, when you see a person who completely spazzes out, as I did in the last video, you kind of don't give them credit. So super tight, you know, kind of passive is the style that we're looking for today. Not to mention, I'm feeling a lot more patient today than I was yesterday. In a hand with Lou, you know, if I make a raise here, I can be calling a lot of what he decides to move all in with. So I think I'm just going to be raising to 750, and, you know, I think most of my opponents fold behind me, and I think Lou moves all in with a hand like King 10 or something. So, you know, I'm not quite sure what to do if Hector, you know, decides to raise, but again, we made the raise under the impression that we figured we were ahead of Lou and we were going to be calling his all in 100% of the time. So not to say that you shouldn't be, you know, raising with Ace-8 on a regular basis. You kind of shouldn't be raising with Ace-8 on a regular basis, but, you know, consider we are sitting 7-handed here, and the blinds are kind of juicy. You know, blinds and antes total 500 and change. So just picking up those blinds and antes, you know, is going to give me, you know, another, you know, 5%, add another 5 to 6% to my chip stack. So, you know, I kind of definitely would like to be stealing blinds and antes if that's an option. A lot of times when you sit at a 9-handed poker table, you know, you kind of get bored and you want to play hands, but I think, again, you know, if you're not trying to focus on your weaknesses as a poker player, then you're never going to get better. Like, you're always going to stay the same. Like, your sort of your skill factor and your skill level can only increase if you're willing to admit that you have weaknesses in your game. If you're not willing to admit that there's weakness in your game, then you can't ever improve. It's like the first step to, you know, getting past a problem is admitting there's a problem. And I have to admit that there are times where I feel like I'm just completely impatient at the table. And so, you know, today is kind of a lesson in patience for me. So today I'm working on my flaws. I'm working on my weaknesses. I think that's really the best way to put it. So if you're concerned about my tight style today, and maybe I'm making some nitty folds, or, you know, not making calls in spots where I should be making calls, then I want you to know in advance there's a reason why, you know, I wouldn't be, you know, defending. You know, 6-9 is something that I've defended with less than 6-9, but again, I'm just not in the mood to be defending. Not against tuna, at least, not out of position. Very much in a tournament strategy right now. You know, early on in this tournament, it was kind of a cash game mentality. I'm debating on whether or not if I call here with ace high that I ever have a better hand than Lou. Because he has voluntarily put his chips in the middle here, so, you know, is he capable of doing this with king, queen suited? I suppose. But I'm just very rarely ahead, and if I'm ever ahead, I'm never ahead by a lot. Like, is my opponent ever doing this with 4-5 offsuit? No. So my hand is just not good enough to be risking 10% of my chip stack. So that'll be up to Rich if he wants to do that. And we'll find a better spot to pick up Lou's chips if he wants to continue to shove. Like, if he shoves the next 2 or 3 hands in a row, you know, then maybe we can call late. I think ace-jack is a hand that we can be calling if he does decide to shove. But again, when he just snap folds here, I think he actually really did have at least ace-high when he moved in last time. If Scoops decides to raise here, I think I will be raising pre-flop. I mean, it's pretty thin for me to be raising pre-flop. Yeah, it'd be pretty thin for me to be re-raising, but I don't know. I know Scoops, you know, can be patient, you know, so I don't know if he's just going to be trying to steal blinds and annies. So maybe re-raising might not be the right move if he does decide that he's going to be moving all in. When we get re-raised here from tuna, you know, I don't know what I want to do. I think I'm going to ride. I think I'm going to ride with the ace-jack. I mean, if he ever has ace-king, then we're just in such bad shape. But I'm giving him an opportunity to fold here. If I just call, I'm not going to be smashing flops a whole lot. So I've let him know that I'm basically okay with calling his all-in. Like, if he moves all-in, I'm pretty much calling it. Like, I'm sort of priced in to call it. But I'm letting him know that I'm in here with a good hand. I'm not just fucking around and stealing. So, you know, if he's willing to ride, then obviously he knows that I've priced myself in to ride. Like, there's no way. Like, I've made a bet where he feels like I'm never folding. So he really has to feel like he has a really good hand. And, you know, the dynamics of the button stealing in these spots are kind of, it's kind of like you expect the button to be raising, you know, just to steal blinds. So I do like Tuna's raise if he ever has, like, you know, queen jack of diamonds or something like that. Or if he ever has, like, pocket eights. I really do like his raise because he really doesn't, he may have a vulnerable hand and he thinks that I can just get away from it right now. And he's also taking control of the pot. And I've discussed that a lot, where if you're just flat defending out of the big blind, you're never in control of the situation, and 9 times out of 10 you have to check to the raiser. Just the dynamics of the hand. You know, obviously no limit hold'em, you can be doing whatever you want. So he can just flat call the 750 that I bet, right? So, like, let's just take a look at this hand real quick. Like, if I am ever just raising here with whatever the fuck I want to raise, like this is probably the top of my range according to Tuna. So, you know, if Tuna has like an ace-8 in this spot, like, can he just flat call? Yeah, absolutely he can flat call. But the problem that, you know, that he has with flat calling is that now, pretty much regardless of the flop, even if he hits it well, he has to check it to me and risk that I might check back. So, I just, you know, if he does have a pocket pair of 5s or 6s, he doesn't want to be in a spot where he lets me see 4 cards. You know, again, I'm doing a lot of assumptions as to what he has and the way the action would have gone. But again, I think the dynamics sort of say that my raise looks like it can be any 2 cards. So by me raising, I'm not necessarily defining to anybody who's good at poker that I have a good hand. By him re-raising and 3-betting my raise, he's the first person to actually define that he has a good hand, which is counterintuitive, right? Like, you would think that because I raise, I'm the first person to define that my hand is good. But because buttons are so likely to be raising, and most poker players know that, when you've raised on the button, you've done very little to define that you have a good hand. So I think the only way I can let my opponent know that my hand actually is very good, and ace-jack I'm not saying is very good, but it is a legitimate hand to be raising when you're up against a small and big blind, is to click back and make a substantial raise. And I think the design of my raise was one that I wanted him to know that my raise was one I was going to ride with. So you'll see that, I don't know if you remember, but I had clicked pot, like I had clicked the pot button, and I think when I clicked the pot button, it had gone to 599, and I just took a look at the pot geometry and said 599 isn't exactly enough. So I added an extra 1,000 to 699 because I really wanted my raise to be more than 5,000, because I wanted it to be more than what Tuna's chip stack was at the time. So his chip stack was roughly 96 or 9,500. So I really wanted my clickback to make it to make him know that if he does raise, it's not going to be able to be even a complete raise, and I'm just going to be priced in to be making that call. So so I think there was a little bit of thought there, but mostly I just really wanted to flex my muscles there and say, you know what, I mean, if you have the best hand, go for it. If not, my bet's going to get through a lot of the time. So, maybe Tuna folded tens in that spot. That'd be a really, really sick fold from Tuna to be folding tens. But, he is one of the few players that's at the table right now who understands the metagame of poker and understands how to read pot bets and how to read half pot bets and how to read pot geometry. And I think he makes some pretty correct folds on a regular basis. So I was giving an opportunity to make a fold and take some chips down without having to see a flop and having to show down my cards. I guess there's a possibility Tuna's doing that with, junk too, but who knows. So Yankee 2344 has chipped up very nicely. I think the last time I was paying attention to him, he had like 2,000 or 3,000 chips. Now he's sitting with roughly 8,000. And Scoops doesn't have very many chips, so I don't think I'm going to be betting because Scoops can be check moving all in on pretty much anything. If he has a deuce here, he can be check moving all in. So, alright, Yankee. So youuuu has been kind of quiet. He's been sort of nursing these 1,200 chips, waiting for his spots, and I think he can do that because of the nature of the blinds. Right now, there's still 12 minutes till the blinds go up to 200, 400. So he still does have 4 big blinds, but as the blinds come around and hit him, he's going to drop to below 1,000 chips, and that's really, I mean, that's just red zone. That's just like, red alert. You've got to be picking a hand and kind of riding with it. I don't know what I want to do here with the ace high. I think when Yankee sort of just limps in here, I think I'm just going to go away. And again, I'm trying to express how much it means to me to be balancing my range and to just be super tight. But when I do get in a hand, I want to be really aggressive. So definition of super tight aggressive is kind of the style that I'd like to play. I don't even mind. I don't even mind. This hand very well could be getting me in trouble. And it looks like Yankee has adopted a style of limping into pots and then betting 3 times what the big blind is, and he's been getting folds. Like, I wouldn't be surprised to see Rich fold and Tuna fold. So this has been a profitable sort of style for him to be limping and then betting any flop that doesn't really connect super well. So. And he's been able to pick up at least 1,000 chips, if not more, using that strategy. We have an all-in here from Scoops. I don't have cards to call, but maybe one of our opponents does, because it is small enough to where I think you can be profitably calling this bet with like a king high. So we do see Tuna call with a king high, and he is sweating a 5. Still sweating a 5. And Tuna's going to take this pot down, and Scoops unfortunately does not scoop the pot. Have a good night, sir. GG. Pocket deuce against Lou. I think I'll give him the courtesy double up. I think I'll give him the courtesy double up. I probably could have raised a little bit more, but I think it looks really strong to my opponents that I'm just min-raising in this spot. This is a really good spot for Lou to be moving in. I don't think I'm going to be folding to Tuna's raise here. I think I will be calling because it's only 600 more, and when I'm set mining, I like to be in a spot where... Oh, Lou definitely has to be putting all his money in the middle here. He's just getting too good of an odds to fold. Like, Lou, you're missing out on a great opportunity here. So, 634, and now I know that I can be checking to the original raiser if I do hit my set. We don't hit a set, unfortunately, but I would expect all-in RE to be shoving all in this spot, just because there's no reason for him to be calling pre-flop, unless he has like a pretty decent hand like a pocket pair. But when he checks here, you know, I kind of have to give Tuna some credit, and you know, we'll see how all-in RE reacts to this next bet. Again, we were set mining and it just doesn't work out, so I don't mind folding here and allowing my opponent to drag this pot, because it's just, you know, the whole design here was to get Lou in the hand, and I was going to be calling Lou's all in, which is roughly going to be the exact same thing anyway. So you know, if Lou moves all in, I'd be calling the exact same amount of chips. You know, you can argue for a fold there with pocket twos. I think some really different schools of thought there are, people can take a look at their pocket twos, and unless they're in a spot where they're on the button, and they know they only have one person to act behind them. I knew I had 3 or 4 people to act behind me, so I think you can make an argument to where you can just fold pocket twos, but just wasn't in the mood to do that. So it looks like Lou's going to be doubling up again here through Tuna. Lou actually has a really sick amount of chips to where he can be shoving really wide to pick up these 690 dead chips here in the middle. So I have to make a conscious decision right now whether or not I think Jack High is going to be good against his extremely wide shove all in here. Obviously, when all-in RU takes that play away, I think I just have to give it up. So we are down to 13 players, but we do have 2 short stacks here at this table, and I call them short stacks because they're hovering right around 10 big blinds. You know, you can do a lot with 10 big blinds in Tuna's tournaments just because the blinds don't really whip around too often. Yankee, I don't necessarily put on having good cards, and I never think Rich is ever defending. Like, I think Rich is folding all the time. So very briefly, I thought that I would be able to get away with a re-raise from the small blind. But again, you know, even though I know all the tricks, like I know I'm capable of all the tricks, you know, I'm trying to have some balance and, you know, kind of slap myself and say, you know, even though you know the right moves, you know, I guess maybe you can make an argument to where, John, if you know the right moves, then why would you ever stop making those moves? Because I think my table image over the past tournament or two has gone to where I'm always making moves. And so I don't want to say that people are always calling me late or looking me up late. But, you know, I think if I am going to be making those moves, I definitely want to be semi-bluffing instead of just completely bluffing. So, you know, if I have a hand like, you know, King Jack of Diamonds, I think I'm more likely to be making that move versus 7-8 offsuit, because no matter what, if our opponent does decide to look us up, we're going to be playing the hand out of position, and I guess I'm going to have to be making some really uncomfortable decisions playing out of position against an opponent who has a very similar chip stack to ours. You know, he has the type of chips that he can do some damage if he does get sticky. You know, if he flops top pair and just wants to get sticky and, you know, doesn't want to fold to any check raises or any stop-and-go plays, then we can be getting ourselves into a lot of trouble. So I think 7-8 is just a pretty easy fold when you think about it that way. I think there was a raise pre-flop, and now finally Rich decides that he's going to stick some chips out there. Tuna may look him up with like a 7, but I doubt it. So Rich shows that he had river to 4. I don't know what he was raising with if he has a 4 in his hand. When you're raising here in this spot, you have to be 100% totally and mentally prepared that when you make a raise, all in RU has a re-raising chip stack behind him. So if you're not prepared to be calling all in RU's re-raise all in, then you shouldn't be raising the hand. Plain and simple. I really thought Hector was just gonna snap him right there and just like just say fuck you. I call your 900. Let's see a flop, dealer. Snap him like a Slim Jim. But he decides that he is gonna save his chips for another day. Lou's the type of guy who'll call you kind of late, but you know, unfortunately Hector doesn't have the luxury of just waiting for good hands, so if it does fold around to him and he has anything like queen high, he's right to be moving all in that spot. Like I said, we are playing relatively nitty, but we are still sitting in 3rd of 13th place. Tuna probably is right above us, and Fiesta Fester with a 4x chip stack. Well, again, we started this tournament with 5,000 in chips. Most of the players who are playing still have less than a double stack, and then it's me, Tuna, and Fiesta who are accumulating some chips here. So, but Rich is not that far behind us, and neither is Yankee 2344. I wonder if 2344 refers to the Yankee Don Mattingly and Reggie Jackson. I think 44 was Reggie Jackson, right? Do 7 suited. Thank God we get to see a flop. At least it's suited. Not necessarily the best flop for us. I wouldn't put it past me to see Yankee stick a little bet out there, and when he just snap bets 900, I think it's very exploitable. I think it's extremely exploitable. Yeah, I mean, I kind of knew this about Yankee. And, when you see an all monochrome flop there, you at least have to put at least 3 or 4 seconds of thought into a bet size in case your opponent has, a diamond and he's always going to want to be continuing. So I just felt like it was more of a timing tell with his bet. Like, had he waited, maybe 5 seconds and then bet 900, I think maybe I don't make that play. But for a poker player to process the amount that's in the pot, the nature of the board, whether or not the board connects, to understand flush draws, to understand that you're playing out of position, to understand that he wasn't the one who had made the raise pre-flop, and he had just limped in. It's just a lot to process to just bomb pot. Let's make it 680. I guess maybe we get looked up by Rich, but I do like our raise. It is susceptible to re-raises. I think a lot of the time it's very susceptible to re-raises. When we get the call from Rich, I think I'm just going to give him credit, and I'm going to say, look, dude, you paid the 680. You're going to get to see the turn. I'm not even going to, pretend to have hit this flop. If Rich does decide to lead out, I don't know exactly how I'm going to behave. Just because he could be sitting with, like, pocket 8s, or something along those lines. That's 1,500. This would be a very light call for me, because I just don't know what he's going to do on most rivers, and I've already checked back the queen, so I can't really represent that I have a queen. So, I'm assuming that Rich in that spot maybe has pocket 7s, and, he's making a decent sized bet to protect a hand like pocket 7s. So, not mad at the bet. I'm trying to do my best. Last time I played a tournament and I videotaped it, and again, you guys haven't seen the video yet because I haven't posted it, but I'm trying to do my best to apologize to those people who I was berating. I wasn't necessarily berating them, but I was expressing my disdain for a couple of players and their bet sizes and how it was sort of tilting me out. And I do want to recognize when somebody is playing well. And right now I would like to say that Rich NYC is playing extremely well. Really not getting out of line at all. And he's, it's kind of hovering right around 10,000 chips, which is fine. So, basically all these players here are playing relatively well. Lou, while he is a little bit crazy sometimes, he is playing relatively well. Looks like he's going to need a jack to catch up in this spot. And the deuce of hearts is not going to do it. So we say goodnight to Mr. Lou Jagoo. And we are currently down to 12 players. It looks like we're probably going to inherit a player from another table because we only have 5 at this table. So with 12 players left, somebody is going to get moved over here. Hopefully right here to our right, so we don't have to worry about a new player sitting in our big blind. Do I want to be raising? I don't know. I don't think I want to defend, so I think I'll just be folding. Again, very nitty, sort of weak play, but I just I don't think Hector's probably doing this with Jack 9, so you just got to give the guy credit. Here, 850 dead chips out in the middle. I'm not just going to be calling with the King 8. So I will be raising, and hopefully Rich NYC decides that he's just going to fold. There's, I guess, some strange universe where we get re-raised, and if I do get re-raised, I think I was prepared to make a call. And I think that's a very big part of playing 5-handed is be aware of the fact that when you're playing 5-handed that re-raises are going to happen. 3 bets are going to happen, and you need to be prepared to be calling those 3 bets. Because 3 bets 5-handed don't mean the same as 3 bets 9-handed. In other words, what I'm trying to say is 3 bets 5-handed are going to happen a lot with a lot weaker hands than they're going to happen with otherwise. 6-7, probably a really good spot for me to be raising. I'm going to bet 880. It's kind of shitty for Rich because we're taking away his button move. When he makes this re-raise here, I'm not necessarily putting him on a huge hand. I will put him on at least ace high. So that's why I like making this raise with 6-7, because I know that my cards are, at best not dominated. They're probably live. So I will be defending here and hoping to flop really well against Rich. And this is obviously not a really, really good flop for us. I don't know what I want to bet. I guess I just have to, since I've said that I put my opponent on an ace, I think I just have to check to him and let him make a bet. When he doesn't bet, I'm going to bet 28.50. And I think that's enough if he doesn't have an ace to get him to fold. If he does have an ace, he's moving all in. Like, I just don't think it's callable for him. So, I don't... Oh, look. Oh, that's just shitty. Oh, Richie, baby. Richie, baby, I'm sorry. I made you fold. No, you had a really good hand. Oh, sorry, buddy. I'm sorry. Shit. So, you gotta love our bet sizing then, right? I mean, our bet sizing was to where we were maybe inviting a call. But let's just be honest, when we made the raise pre-flop, and then we get 3-bet, and then we call the 3-bet, then, if you don't have an ace or a king, and you see an ace or a king flop, then you're in pain. Like, when he sees that ace-king flop, he's just in so much pain. So, it looks like we're going to raise here. Ace-queen is his only outs. Still an ace-queen, the only outs. And the pocket sixes are going to hold. And Hector is essentially out of the tournament unless he can score a miracle comeback by doubling up, tripling up, and then quadrupling up. Well, at least we're going to see what Tuna's raising with. So it looks like, actually, Hector is in the lead with the ace-jack. Close to not being in the lead, and still in the lead with the ace-jack. So he's able to scrape a pot of 682 chips. So where there is a will, there's a way, right? So, you know, the question is, you know, is he just going to be shoving every hand? You know, can he wait a hand here? So Tuna has decided that he wants to be the one who scores the knockout on Hector, which is fine. We got an all-in here from Yankee. I actually really love this all-in from Yankee, right? Because look at the extra added value he's going to get. So I love this all-in from Yankee. Even if he has, like, Jack-9. Like, I just absolutely love it. You know, Ace-Jack, whatever. So it looks like Hector is going to be maybe out of the tournament. Yep, out of the tournament. So really love the bet from Yankee 2344. Well done. Get some extra. Yeah, good shove. You're absolutely right. I really, really love the shove from Yankee. And we are down to 11 players. Warger has joined the table. Let's see what we want to do here. Do I want to get involved? I'll make it 800 and. Yeah, I think we're going to get calls from Tuna all the time, but I like our hand. I think it flops well. I don't think I'm going to be continuation betting. You know, do I think our hand is the best hand right now? Probably not. So I think we're just going to be checking. When we see this card, now we're sort of very happy to be calling a bet. Like if we get like an 850 chip bet or a 900 chip bet, I think we're absolutely calling it. I think it'd be interesting if he bets if I'm able to raise. I'm going to make it 2,400. You know, and maybe Tuna goes away, but even if he calls, I kind of like our spot because, you know, I don't think he's ever 4-betting us in this spot. You know, even if he decides that he wants to call, great, because I'm actually semi-bluffing in this spot. You know, maybe he shoves. Like I think a shove would work out a lot of the time. But again, Tuna, I'm only semi-bluffing here, right? I'm not totally bluffing. So if you can sort of sense my aura, I do have some strength. I have a little bit of strength. My line kind of doesn't make sense, and that's what Tuna's saying. He's saying, why would he check back and then raise me? But my line only makes sense with the hand that I have, which is the 9-7 of diamonds. So, but I don't mind Tuna sticking an 800 chip bet out there because a lot of players will just fold to the 800 chip bet. Warger is extremely capable of running up her chip stack. She's not going to be committing a whole lot of chips at any given point. You know, a lot of her MO is to be making very small bets into pots, you know, 4th size pot, 5th size pot bets. So that's something that you're going to see Warger do if she does end up getting involved in a pot. But she's in a very precarious situation here, seeing as how she has 4,000 chips, and the blinds are already at 200 and 400. So, you know, she really has only one profitable move. Like, for her to just be calling out of the small blind here and playing her hand out of position is just tough. But I expect her to donk out. I mean, look, this is exactly what I'm talking about. I expect her to donk out at pretty much any flop. I expect her to do the same thing on turns. You know, I expect her to bet like 750 or 800 here. And, you know, when she bets 400 again, you know, I just don't think Tuna's ever just folding. I love it, you know. So now, you know, Warger is maybe betting 400 again. Wow. So Warger backs into a straight somehow, and you know, this is exact. I mean, it's just like she's played her hand so poorly, so terribly, and Tuna sniffed it out so perfectly, and then it just doesn't work out. So it's just really unfortunate for Ugly Tuna and extremely fortunate for Warger. We're drawing to an 8, so we're not going to be getting too crazy. This 400 chip bet, I mean, am I ever getting the right odds to call? No. So I think I just go away. I mean, I didn't voluntarily put any money into that pot, so, you know, I don't mind just folding. Even if I am on a draw, it's like, fine, whatever, I fold. Tuna is not going to be sitting back here. I think he's going to be doing some raising. Warger, I don't know what to think about Warger. Warger kind of doesn't scare me, but Warger, if I raise, is going to be calling. Like, Warger does like to look me up. I noticed that when I get in hands with Warger, that's just the way it works. I probably could just be betting this. I'm gonna bet 1200, and hopefully Rich just folds. Warger may look me up, but I just feel like it was a good size bet. If my opponents don't have diamonds, they just can't continue. That's probably not a part of my nitty sort of style, right, that I'm trying to portray, but you guys have to remember that a lot of my patience comes from the fact that we were sitting at a 9-handed table, and even when we got to a spot where we were knocking players out and it was 8 players left and 7 players left, well, now we're down to 5 players, so you can't just sit back and wait for a hand. So when the door is open and there's dead chips, and you see an opportunity to take those chips and it's 5-handed, then, you know, I have the chips. You know, if there's anybody at this table who can be taking a 1200 chip stab at a pot like that, it's me. You know, I do have the most chips at the table thus far, so I can be making that decision. And, you know, if I do have an opponent who decides he wants to push back, then you know, then I just lose my 1200 chips and we move on to the next hand. I mean, these are the type of bets that Warger makes, and, you know, me personally, when I see these bets, I raise huge. I'm just like, sorry, Warger, that bet's just not going to work. And, you know, unfortunately, Rich NYC is just accommodating this. You know, I think Warger's very strong here with at least top pair. You know, and this is the problem with players who don't understand how to play against Warger. They end up just making really, really poor folds. Like, it's just, you know, Warger, if you're watching this video, nothing personal against you, okay? But I don't know why nobody's figured out how to beat your bets. Like your bets are just so exploitable, and I just don't understand why people aren't recognizing it. You know, like, it just, you and I need to get in a hand so that we can do it the right way. All right, let's try that. Do I want to be defending with a King 10? Well, I'm never raising, right? So I think I just have to flop well. So I think I'll just call. It's actually a really good flop for me, the caller. So it really wouldn't surprise me if Tuna checks this flop back. When I check the Tuna twice, he's obligated to bet. We actually river a king, so I think I can just bet, like, you know, I think I'm just going to check call if he bets. So Tuna does the right thing and checks all 3 streets. You know, and we're able to see the river there, and maybe he has an ace high. Yeah, so he's definitely, oh my god, so he's checking back middle pair. It's just rough. That's a rough spot for him to be checking back middle pair, but maybe he's expecting me to, you know, be continuing, you know, to make a bet. If I check twice, I'm definitely going to be betting. So now that I see his hand, like, maybe I could have made a bet on the river and gotten looked up, but I do think Tuna maybe makes the fold there if I do make a bet. With the queen out there and the rest of the card. What were the cards that were out there? So, you know, is he afraid of a flush? I think rarely. I think he knows that if there is a flush draw out there, I'm going to be sticking some chips out there. But we just get lucky to have backed into that king there. That's another really interesting thing about when you play poker. Like, you guys probably see a lot of rivers, and my style of poker is designed to not allow my opponents to see a lot of rivers. And I think it's not just my style, but I think a winning style of poker is make bets to a point where if your opponent is seeing the river, they have a significant amount of chips invested up against you. Rivers are very dangerous cards because you'll hear the term ace on the river, I lost on the river, and it's like there should be no real reason why you ever are in a spot where you have to allow your opponents to see rivers. If tuna shoves, I don't know what I'm gonna do because I can be folding. Like my 8s are still vulnerable, so if I double tuna up to 1200 and I lose 600, it's just really bad. But my hand is very strong, and so I think as it stands right now, I'm not hurting for chips. But when I get pocket pairs, it's just really the top of my range. So I think I'm definitely I think any ace high tuna is going to be shoving in these spots. So I just king queen. You can make an argument for raising with king queen, but again, let's just talk about it. Like Warger is the type of person who is always going to be seeing rivers, and that's just the nature of the way she bets. Like, she never bets enough to get her opponents to... I don't know what I want to do here with pocket sevens. I mean, Tuna's well within his rights to be moving all in. I think I just defend with the sevens and hopefully see a safe flop. Like, if I see... what kind of flop would be a safe flop for me? I guess a safe flop would be like an 8 high flop. Anything like 9, 10 jack, I'm going to be getting away from. Obviously a very safe flop. So, Tuna's never putting me on a pair, so, he's probably moving all in this spot, and, I just have to call. I mean, my hand is just too good not to call, right? So, not for nothing, if he has a better hand, I just have to give him the chips. So he is on a flush draw, and okay. So we were able to have our hand hold up, and unfortunately we knocked Tuna out of the tournament. I do like playing against Tuna, I really do, and I do feel bad when we're in a spot. Tuna actually moved all in there with a pretty solid hand. He had a flush draw, so he was not, even if I have pocket aces, he's still 45% to win that hand. So I just, well, maybe not 45%, because of the overpair. So if I have pocket aces, he's still 35% to win the hand. So we have made a final table here. We are in first position out of 9, which is really cool. We do have the next best. No, we're in second position out of 9. We do have the chip leader sitting to our immediate left, which is not where we want to have the immediate chip leader sitting. So, I kind of have to be careful with Fiesta Fester. But at the very least, I think players are going to be a lot less likely to be stealing our small and big blinds. If I'm in the small blind and Fiesta Fester's in the big blind, it's going to be very difficult for these players to just be trying to steal. We do have Warger, who is in a good spot to be stealing our big blinds, but I actually am very happy about Warger's position right now because I feel like I'm going to get Warger to be making some mistakes, and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about later on in the tournament, but I feel like I'm going to be getting Warger to be making some mistakes. I'm going to be checking to her and letting her make her small bets, and we'll see how that ends up going. So right now we have 24,000 chips, which right now is a shit ton of chips. I think the average amount of chips right now is, so we have a double average chip stack, as does, our neighbor right here. Which, I guess you could say, well, what do you care? Any one of these players can double through you, and then they have a double average chip stack, which is fine, and I guess that makes sense too. But, we're just in such a good spot where we're going to be feeling out our opponents, and we're going to be taking a look at the lines that they want to take, and we're going to be sort of trying to get a feel for, who's going to be the people that are going to pick on us, who are going to be the people that we want to pick on. And, just looking at this cast of characters here, we see Mario, who we haven't seen Mario at a final table in a really long time. I have a lot of respect for Mario's game, although, he doesn't really accumulate mounds and mounds of chips. He does make safe bets, make safe plays, and he will, you know, he'll get sticky if he doesn't believe you. So, you know, if Mario's ever in a hand with pocket tens and the flop comes like, you know, queen 7 6, you know, don't think you're just going to get him to fold his pocket tens because he sees the overcard out there. So I do consider Mario a level 2 player, you know, who will look you up with a decent hand, but he's never going to get way too far out of line. Yankee 2344 has been up and down this entire tournament. We don't really have a lot of notes on Yankee 2344, so that's kind of an X factor for us. Warja we have a ton of notes on. I mean, literally an entire paragraph of notes on. So I feel like I'm very comfortable playing against Warja. Dister Dan and Warja next to each other is going to be a little bit hard just because they have very similar playing styles. Sherry over here made a final table with us last night. So, you know, she's doing pretty well for herself. Rich NYC has his chip fortress built, and nobody's ever going to see these chips. Chaos Kid, we came in second to Chaos Kid, who came in first last time that we played. So we do have some familiar faces and some good poker players. You know, anytime you get to a final table, you can assume that at least half, if not most, of the players that are getting involved are good poker players. So we do flop top pair here. I don't think there's a reason to be slow playing, but I do expect Yankee to be making a C bet here. So if Yankee bets, Yankee doesn't bet. So maybe we make like a little 800. Let's make it 900, and I think 900 looks like I might have hit a 4, and you know, also looks kind of steely, like maybe Fiesta calls me. So when Fiesta completely just snap calls, I'm putting Fiesta on like a 9, like exactly a 9, like I'm putting him on like ace 9. But I do have jacks and 4s, so even if he has like 8, 9, I think we're just in really good shape. So I think I can just bet 1,000, and he's going to look me up with his 9. What are the hands that beat us? Queen 10 beats us. You know, here's my theory on when we get raised on the river. Like, whenever our opponent just raises us on rivers, he never just has one pair, okay? So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to call to explain to you, I don't think I have the best hand right now, right? But I am going to call because I want to explain to you, the viewer, that when your opponent is making this raise on the river, that he's never making this raise with, say, you know, just one pair. So, you know, he either has a 4, which is extremely unlikely, or he has Queen 10, which is extremely likely, or he has a set of 8s, which is also likely. But either way, I'm just going to be looking him up. Yeah, so Queen 10 is where we're at with his hand. And again, you guys have to really be very conscious because I didn't think that my jack was good in that spot. I think the rest of the players maybe think that I thought that, but it was merely just like an educational thing where I'm trying to explain to you that if you ever make a bet on the river and your opponent raises you on the river, it's never one pair. Like, unless you're playing at the highest stakes where other opponents kind of know that and they're able to exploit that and they're able to make raises when you do make bets on rivers, then you know, you just have to understand the situation that you're in. So I think if I wasn't doing this video, I'm absolutely folding the jack, but I really wanted to illustrate my point that my opponent more than likely had a hand that was better than one pair. So you should never be calling a raise when you get raised on the river if you're only holding one pair, and that includes if you're holding aces. Like if you have pocket aces in that spot, like if you take a look at this, you know, and you say, okay, I see this board, and you're like, oh, well, you know, I have aces, so even if my opponent has jack 8, you know, I'm still in good shape because I have aces and 4s. It's still very rarely good. So you just need to be extremely, you know, nervous and careful about those types of bets. So Fester probably thinks he outplayed us, and that's fine. We gave him a pretty good price to be calling, you know, when we bet the 800 or 900 and he had an open-ended straight draw. So we kind of did it to ourselves, and that's another reason why you shouldn't really be slow playing, you know, your bets. But you know, when we take a look at this flop right here, like I guess there's not really an amount that I can bet on this flop to get him to fold. Like my opponent is never like let's just take a look at the way this hand turns out. All right, so you know we're sitting with King Jack, which is fine. King Jack suited, it's not the nuts, and we get one caller. So right now there's 2,200 chips in the middle. So like based on Fiesta Fester's stack, even if I make a third pot size, not a third, a half pot size bet, or even a 3/4 pot size bet, Fiesta Fester is never folding his open-ended straight draw. I would have to fire another huge barrel on most turns and hope that Fiesta can find a fold. And there's something that I do know about Fiesta is that I don't think I'm putting him on the type of player who can find a fold when he has so many chips. So I think I'm just very comfortable understanding that my opponent is not going to be in a folding mood. We did end up just missing out on a... Oh man, this is kind of gross because I do have the card. Like Yankee kind of has to make this move with King High or even Queen Jack, but our hand just isn't good enough to call. Hopefully one of our opponent's hands is good enough to call. Let's just take a look at the hand that all right, so Fiesta Fester actually backs into calling this all in with pocket eights, and his opponent unfortunately has pocket fours. But like Yankee can be making moves there with pretty much any two cards there under the gun because he kind of has to. It looks like there's going to be some action at this table. There's going to be a lot of all-ins. People are feeling like these blinds being at 255. That if you're sitting with 6,000 chips, you're only sitting with 12, 13 bigs. So players like Sherry, players like Chaos Kid, players like Warger, obviously Yankee Kid. They really only have one move. Even if they raise pre-flop, they're going to be shoving on a lot of flops. So we just need to be extremely careful about that. I know I did gift over 4,000 chips to Fiesta Fester, but we are still sitting in pretty decent shape here with 18, almost 19,000 chips. Ace King here under the gun. I think I just call and hopefully induce an all-in from somebody. Like I was hoping Yankee might just shove all in, and when he shoves all in, it's just really good spot for me to be reshoving all in because it's just like perfect. It's just like a perfect spot for me to be reshoving all in. So if Fiesta Fester wants to call, like I'm inviting a call from Fiesta Fester. Maybe he calls me with like Ace Jack or like something worse, but I definitely just have everybody crushed at this point. So I'm getting added value on flipping. Yeah, you can show me Ace Jack if you want, bro. I'm about to show you Ace King. So we're just in such good shape against Yankee 2344. Although he does have diamonds now, so we're in bad shape. And he spikes the queen. So again, we kind of know where we're at, and our goal our goal works out exactly according to plan. Like I don't understand why Rich would show the Ace Jack. Like all of a sudden he thinks Ace Jack is good. Like maybe he's just the type. Sherry says nice play. I'm gonna say thank you. Wish it worked, though. So anyways, Yankee had a hand that he wanted to shovel in with, and I knew I was going to be isolating, so I made this comment on one of my other videos, which is coin flip concepts. And the concept of going to a coin flip is if you're ever in a spot where you can, get added value for your coin flip, well then, you definitely want to be doing that. So, there's a chance that I could have just raised. Like, let's say I raised to like 1,500, and then Yankee decides that he wants to move all in. Well, I don't think I can re-raise his all in there. I think I just have to flat call. And now I'm going to a flop with either three-way or four-way. I don't know what I want to do here. I think I'll just call, and hopefully my opponent just spazzes, and maybe just raises. If he does decide that he's just going to raise, then we're just in such good shape. I think I just check. I'm counting on Fiesta Fester to get aggressive. Since he doesn't plan on getting aggressive, I think I'm just going to be checking this all the way down. And hopefully my opponent just decides, well, when he bets 500, it's kind of like, well, whatever, I could be drawing to another spade. If my opponent ever has a flush here, then he's just going to be making a lot of money on me. I do have aces and nines with a king. If my opponent has a 9, then I'm just in really bad shape. I think if he missed his cards, he's going to be bluffing a lot. I guess it's very probable that my opponent has a 9, but my hand's just too good to fold. So, yeah, so he has a flush. So he wasn't, unless I raise pre-flop, he's never folding to my raise, on the flop. And I'm just getting myself in a whole lot of trouble. So, all things considered, I am not running really well against Fiesta Fester, but I don't think anybody's running really well against Fiesta Fester at this point. So I'm not going to get mad at it. I'm just going to understand that the way I'm positioned right now is, even though he has all the chips in the tournament, right now I'm still in second place. Even though he has 3 times the chips that I have, you know, almost 4 times the chips that I have, I'm still in second place. So all of our opponents are kind of looking up at Fiesta's stack and saying, you know, man, I wish that I could run as good as that guy runs. But we've had our share of run good, so we're not going to get too upset about it. Again, I have overplayed Ace-King so often in these tournaments that, you know, I think that, you know, I probably could have raised pre-flop, but even if I raise pre-flop and my opponent decides that he wants to call me in position with suited connectors like deuce 5, I'm just going to get myself in so much trouble and probably go broke on that hand. So I think I probably lost the minimum on that hand. Yeah, it looks like Fiesta Fester just isn't in a folding mood with all his chips. And he's just getting there. I mean, the guy's just running like God right now. So, I mean, when you have an opponent who's just getting there, you know, has all the chips and is just getting there, it's like just such a dangerous combination. I'd like to try to have some fun at this final table. A lot of my final tables are kind of like just, you know, haha, here's the rules, and it's kind of like cut and dry and everything makes sense. But, you know, I would like to have some fun and play some hands, but we have such a poor seat. Like, our seat with the chip leader sitting on our direct left is just really bad. He can be calling us very light, very wide, so I think when I do raise, I need to make sure that I am raising, and when I raise, I feel comfortable being re-raised. So we have an all-in and a call here from pocket 8s and jack 6, so he's drawing to 6 outs. And the jack 6 is not going to do it, and that's one of the problems with being in the big blind. You know, you end up playing hands that you probably shouldn't be playing. Let me just take a look and see if he called a raise with the jack 6. Not that it really matters too much, but did Warder just limp in? Like, maybe Warder just limps in. Yeah, so Warder limps in and really forces, you know, gets the Yahtzee flop that she wants, and really forces Yankee to see a flop where he already has top pair, and he just insta-shoves, because he sees the top pair, so, you know, if Warder only has, like, overcards, Warder's never calling this bet. So, you know, Yankee just decides, like, I don't even want to give my opponent a chance to outdraw me, so I'm just going to shove. So I don't necessarily mind this shove from Yankee, but it's just such a perfect flop for Warder, and she just, I hate to say that she played her hand perfectly, but it just works out where she limps with 8s and has, like, a 6-high board. I mean, can you imagine? And her opponent flops top pair and moves all in on her. It's just, like, really, really just a perfect run out for Warder and Warder's range. But, you know, she did the right thing, kind of limping with the aces there, and, you know, her sort of nitty play has netted her a ton of chips. I mean, you know, within the past half hour, she's gone from 4,000 chips to 20,000 chips. So we're going to be on the lookout for some Broadway cards. We're not going to be getting involved with the chip leader at all. Like, there's really no reason for me to be getting involved with the chip leader. You know, none of these other players are going to want to get involved with the chip leader, and if I am going to get involved with him, I'm not going to be doing it where I'm at a position on him. So, you know, if anything, I'm going to be doing it here with where I have position. It just so happens that I'm sitting here with pocket jacks. This is a really good spot for me because I feel like Warder can be limping very widely. So let's make it... Let's make it 2,000. Oh, I thought I made it 2,000. I made it 1,250? Oh, that sucks. That really sucks. What do I do now? So I think I'm just going to min-raise Warder here. And I don't know how Fiesta Fester is going to react to this, but if Fiesta Fester has a king, he's always raising. Oh my god, this is so gross. I thought I bet 2,000, not that it friggin' matters, but it's just really gross. Like, Warder is going to be donking into every single pot, and like the way Warger plays is just so ass backwards. Like limp, donk, 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 bet. I know how to play against a player like that, but again, it's an added like the degree of difficulty at this final table with my seat, like my seat and Disterdan's seat, with Warger playing like a knucklehead and just saying, "Oh, I'll just bet 1,200 and fold." Like, you know, I just don't see that as a good spot for me with Fiesta Fester, you know, being a calling station behind me. So, but again, my raise pre-flop kind of fucked me because I thought I was raising the 2,000 and it turns out I was raising the 1,250. So, I think I'm going to be raising to 1,200 here. You know, hopefully Fiesta Fester decides that he wants to call. So again, we just really need to flop well because I just don't think our opponent is ever, you know, folding. I love this bet from Chaos Kid. I absolutely fucking love this bet. Like, Chaos Kid is the only one who could be hitting those cards, so I absolutely love this bet from Chaos Kid. Good job, bro. You know, this guy Fiesta Fester is just going to be a needle in my side, and he's going to be calling all of my raises. So, knowing that he's going to be calling all of my raises, I just need to have my flops hit. Like it's not even a matter of my skill. Like, my skill, whatever skill I have in poker, is going to go right out the window when my opponent is in position on me with all the chips and can just make me prove that I have a hand. You know what I'm saying? I think Ace-Jack is sort of borderline here, but I am going to be min-raising again. You know, I'm not quite sure if I should be shoving with Ace-Jack in this spot, but it does look very strong that I'm min-raising from early position. I mean, do I ever think Chaos Kid is doing this with worse than Ace-Jack? And I just don't. I just don't think he's doing this with worse than Ace-Jack, so I think I just fold. Again, I'm not worried. I'm not panicking. You know, I do have chips. It's not like I'm completely out of chips. But I probably saved myself from the aggravation. Like, if my opponent ever has Ace-King there, then he's just always, you know, he's just always friggin' beating me because I normally would just be shoving there with the Ace-Jack. Rich, like I said, is very rarely getting out of line, so kind of happy that Disterdan takes the decision away from me. Don't know what I'm gonna do with pocket eights. I think I just shove with pocket eights. Maybe my opponent just calls me bad. He probably calls me bad. He probably calls me with like Jack 9 or something. If this folds around to me, I guess I can make an argument for moving all in, but it's not the way it works out, so. You know, Disterdan is just going to be sitting here counting your chips and, you know, watching television, and Chaos Kid's never putting his chips in the middle. And, you know, Warger is kind of an X factor in this spot, but yeah, I just always think Fiesta Fester is just going to be calling pretty much anybody's bet if he has any cards that he wants to see. Another small bet from Warger. Let's see another small bet. Oh, so she checks. Well, she's left the door open for Fiesta Fester. Unbelievable, bro. Like, these players have no idea. Oh, my God. If this pet gets through. Well, I do like the bet from Fiesta because he's making Warger define her hand. I do think Warger's calling. I just think she has to think about calling. But she's definitely calling. At least we can sit here and count your seconds. Click back. 70, 69. Whatever, Warger. I am going to be, running a clinic, he says. Yeah, either that or, basically hitting every single friggin' flop in turn. I think people are going to be expecting, SCN 87 to be making a move sometime soon, but I don't expect her to make a move with anything less than Ace Queen or Ace Jack. So so if she even if Sherry moves all in, I just expect her to be having a hand like Ace Jack or Ace 10 or better. Unless it folds to her, like if she's ever in a spot where all of this folds to her and she's on the button, I think she's capable of moving in with a hand like Queen 8 suited or something like that. But when we have limpers like this, you really force any of the short stacks to make sure that they have a good hand if they're going to move all in, because you really don't have a whole lot of fold equity. Anytime an opponent has decided they're going to be interested in a pot. I think I'm going to be moving all in here. I know it's not the best hand to be moving all in with. Aw, come on, Cher. Not who I wanted to call, because I know I'm behind. Like, I already know I'm behind. Like, she's never calling with King 10, so I'm just so far behind. Well, I guess I'm not too far behind, but I do need to hit, and she doesn't have to hit. I do hit. Ouch. So we do hit, which is always fun. Sherry, I'm sorry, okay? What do you want me to do? I'm short as you are, okay? Let's look at this hand, okay? What do you want me to do? I'm sitting here. What do we have, all right? We have 9 big blinds, okay? And we have a King Jack, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4 players to get through. I mean, I guess it's questionable whether or not I would have... I guess I could fold, but I think, Sherry, if you're in this spot, maybe you consider moving on with King Jack as well. Do I like your call with Ace High? I don't know. I don't know if I like the call with Ace High, but, I mean, you probably have to recognize that I could be making this move with anything, so... I mean, Warger, this just isn't going to work. If Warger wants to bet here, she's just going to take it down. Oh, so cool! Oh, so cool! It's the best bet ever! When you know where you are and you know what your opponent is going to do and you take advantage. I mean, this is poker, guys. Like, I kind of knew that she was going to be making a small bet and it's completely exploitable. Like, oh my god, I'm so glad that that bet just went through. Oh my god. You guys have no idea how that makes me feel. Warger, if you're watching this video, it's the best bet ever! It's so good. Oh man. Oh, that felt great. Great. So we are back to second place somehow. All of our opponents, have not that many chips. Fiesta Fester has a ton of chips. So, I mean, my seating arrangement is just so terrible. Like, the seat that I have right now is so bad because I just can't ever think that Fiesta's ever gonna... I guess it's forcing me to really be, like, super choosy about the hands that I have. I guess that's, if nothing else, I just have to be really choosy. And I guess that was part of what I wanted to do in this tournament anyway, was to just be extremely choosy. Dister Dan is never going to be... Like, Dister Dan doesn't play. Like, just doesn't play. So these chips are going to be on lockdown until she gets blinded out. Finally, a substantial bet from Warger. It's probably going to get the job done here. See that, Warger? You make a substantial bet, and it gets through. You make a little dinky 600 chip bet, and people call. Oh my goodness. You know, as much as I would like to, you know, get active, I just can't. I mean, look, my opponent here is just calling all the time. And, you know, now he's just going to be limping. Like, he's in such, I mean, think about the advantageous, is that the way you say it? Advantageous position that Fiesta Fester is in right now, okay? He literally has more than half the chips left in the tournament, and it's six-handed. So he just has everybody crushed, and, you know, he at will, he can be making his bets. Do I want to be raising here? I think so. Oh, I don't think I can call this. I mean, let me just think, alright? So, if my opponent has, like, ace-10, alright? Let's say my opponent has ace-10. Then I'm a 40% dog, but I'm getting 2-to-1 on a call. I call. Oh my god, I'm in such good shape. Oh man, just hold. Hold one time, baby boy. One time, just hold. Thank you. Oh my god. GG. So, guys, that was simply a math problem, alright? I mean, I was thinking about if my opponent ever has ace-10, which is kind of in his range, alright? Like, yeah, is ace-king and ace-jack in his range? Yeah, that's in his range too. But in this hand, ace-10, and it is a 60% favorite to my king-jack. I'm 40%, he's 60%. But for me to call 5,000, you know, 5,000 to win 10,000, I'm getting 2-to-1. So, really, if I'm ever more than a 2-to-1 dog, then I should absolutely 100% be calling his all-in. So, it was really just a math problem. Even though I was more than likely behind, and then there's times where I'm ahead. You know, so not even factoring in the times where I'm ahead. 1,400? No, I don't think I'm going to do it. You know, like right now, if you take Chaos Kid's stack, Warger's stack, and Disterdan's stack, and you add it up, it equals my stack. And then if you add up both of our all of our stacks, it doesn't even come close to Fiesta stack. So right now, I mean, these guys have the type of average stack that you would have if we were still like 15-handed. But we're down to our final 5. So I don't want to get completely out of line here. I do recognize that, you know, when we do make bets, our opponents are only going to have 10 big blinds. So they're going to have a really good shoving range. You know, they're going to be shoving a lot of their hands. Like, you know, there's 2,100 chips out here already, and this wasn't even a raised pot. So I expect a lot of shoves. And, you know, hopefully Fiesta Fester doesn't get all stupid and start doubling players up with nothing. Hopefully that's not the case. I don't know what to think about this. This is bluffy. That 2,800 chip bet is a little bit bluffy. But he can do it. The guy can afford to do it. So, more power to him. Jack 6 on the button. I can be raising. Nah. Nah. Chaos Kid, you get a pass, bruh. Oh, thank God I didn't raise. Oh, Chaos Kid would have just owned me. I'd have made it like 1,800 and Chaos Kid would have said, nope, John. How about all my chips at the same time? How do you feel about that? I thought about it. I was very close. I think when it gets to 5-handed, I am going to really be taking my time in these spots. And hopefully making some good decisions. I'm in such a good mood right now. Really? Oh, shit! Are you fucking kidding me right now? This guy is running like Jesus Christ himself. Oh my God. I mean, we're just living in Fiesta Fester's world right now. It's his world, and we are just paying rent. I think someone in PokerStars says, you know what, I really like this Fiesta Fester name. Let's just give him all the cards. I do like this raise from Chaos Kid. Like, I really like this raise sizing from Chaos Kid a lot. You know what, I think I'm just going to be raising. You know, if my opponent wants to move all in, I think I'm still not in that terrible a shape. And I think my bet gets through a lot. Like, I don't think Chaos Kid is ever just, like, calling with King 10, so he really has to have a very good hand to decide that he wants to call that bet. So I was kind of just taking advantage of the fact that my cards were suited connectors and they were more than likely live. And again, I told you about Disterdan. Disterdan is going to be content to fold her way into oblivion. She's going to say, I'm just going to let my shit ride, just fold, 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 and then eventually she's going to move all in with like Ace-Jack, and someone's going to call her. Actually, he shows up with Ace-King there, and I had King-Queen, so I dodged a bullet there. Yeah, let's just take a look at this hand. So I decide I'm not going to raise with the King-Queen, and Chaos Kid shows up with Ace-King, so I definitely dodged a bullet. Chaos Kid is sucking out right now. Still sucking out right now, and we are made it to three-handed, fellas, ladies and gents. So Chaos Kid and I went to three-handed last night. Okay, here we are, Chaos Kid and I, going to three-handed again. Really, really just crazy. Kind of happy going three-handed. You know, I don't think I'm going to outlast Chaos Kid. Like, I think now Chaos Kid's game is going to open up a lot. Pocket aces is always nice. I think I'll be raising to 1400. If I lose connection with pocket aces, I might flip out. I'm getting really quiet with my pocket aces. That's a tell. That's a tell, guys. I think I'm just going to check behind here. You know, I don't know that my opponent is ever calling me with word. I really hope, like, three-handed that you know, we get him to catch up. I think I make like a little feeler bet of 1400 here because I'm not really afraid of the clubs, and if a club comes, I have the nuts. So I think I make like a little 1400 chip bet here. And maybe Chaos Kid calls me with a club. Like, maybe he's like, well, I have a club, so maybe I'll look him up. But three-handed, my hand is just too good to just be betting this flop, because there's really no draws out there. So if my opponent is committing chips, he has either a king or a six. And I guess I'm happy if he has a king, but I'm devastated if he has a six. I will be defending here with the Jack 10 of clubs. Not my favorite flop. But I'm not going to be getting out of line against Fiesta Fester. Like, I think I'm just going to let him run me over. And that doesn't really fall well in my vocabulary. Like, in my vocabulary, I've never really said a whole lot. I'm just going to let this player run me over. But you have to recognize when you are not as powerful as your opponent. So, like, say you go to the bar, right, and you're having a couple drinks, and some guy bumps into you. And you turn around, and that guy is 6'5", 310 pounds, clearly an NFL lineman, and you turn around and you're about to get tough with him, and you look at him and you see the size of the guy, and you just say, you know what, bro, I'm just not gonna fight with you. Like, I think it's clear that you could just beat me up, so you know, let me just not get in a fight with you. It's very difficult for me to represent an ace since I didn't raise pre-flop, so Fiesta's going to be making a small bet here. Since he doesn't make a small bet, I think I can get away with a reasonable bet of 827 half-pot chips. And maybe Fiesta folds, but I don't know. When he calls, I don't exactly know how to take it. because, you know, if he does hit a 7, he's just never folding. I'm gonna just check and lose. Like I guess I'm just in check lose mode. You know, like maybe he has 8-9 and he doesn't get there. When he bets 2100, it's just like really weird because, you know, why would he be value betting in this spot? Like if he has a 7, I just don't see him value betting. Like this is a bluff. But I just, again, I don't want to get involved with, like, I'd much rather just, I don't know if I can say I can wait out Chaos Kid, but I do have more than double the chips that Chaos Kid has, so I think I can just be patient. You know, I'm going to find good spots. I'm definitely going to find good spots. Chaos Kid's thinking, but I don't think he's calling. Oh shit, he's moved all in. I mean, if Fiesta's ever in a spot where he's raised folding, it's just bad. I mean, I guess you kind of want to raise, but I don't know. I don't know how I feel about him raise folding there. I wouldn't be surprised to see an all-in from Chaos Kid. Like, I think an all-in is really in his range of hands to be... Like, I think if he ever has, like, a really good hand, he can just shove all in, and he's going to take down 1,300 chips. And as soon as I say that, you know, he's just going to shove all in, and that's exactly the way it works out. I think I'm going to call. So, you know, I didn't think he was super strong. He does have hearts, so if he hits a heart, he's just in such good shape. So let's just dodge a heart. So we're able to dodge a heart there, and we are able to go heads up. GG, brother man, GG! So we are heads up again. God, that feels good. The words heads up, oh man, it's like a poker player's like massage. Like if you ever want to just get a massage, it's like, oh, heads up. Oh, I love it. I love the way it feels. I'm actually not that big a chip dog. I think I'm just a 2-to-1 dog against Fiesta Fester. But since I've never played Fiesta Fester heads up before, I think I am going to just let him take this. I'm going to be really waiting this guy out, because right now I do have 40 big blinds, right? So, you know, in 2 minutes the blinds are going to 400, 800, and that's going to give me exactly 40 bigs. So I think I'll just fold. Like, I don't know how often Fiesta Fester goes heads up, but I definitely I'm going to take my time here, kind of swim around, make some decisions. I think I'll call with the Jack-6. We've not made its pair status, so I think, you know, maybe I can stick a little bet out there of 16, and maybe he just goes away. When he doesn't go away and he kind of snap calls in that spot, I'm not putting him on an ace, because I do think if my opponent has an ace, that he's just definitely, you know, he's just definitely like raising. So knowing that he doesn't have an ace and he's just calling, like, I think I just bomb turn there and really do my best to represent, you know, an ace. Guys, if I get quiet as I'm playing heads up, I apologize in advance, because I actually have to do a lot of thinking, like rapid fire thinking. And as I'm doing this rapid fire thinking, sometimes it doesn't really come out. So, you know, my words can't keep up with my rapid fire thinking. When he leads out for 1,400 here, I think I just go away. You know, I do have some draws, but, you know, even if I hit a 10 or a 7, I don't feel good about my hand. So really I'm only drawing 2 and 8, and there's no diamonds out there for me, so I think I just fold. Whew. Queen King. What do we want to do with Queen King? I think it's a good spot for us to be re-raising. Let's make it 9,100. Let's make it 9,400. I like 9,400. That's a good. That's really good. So we have a Yahtzee flop here. So we are actually going to check. If my opponent has an ace, I'm going to lose my fucking mind. you know, if he has an ace, he's doing the right thing. Like, he's thinking about what can I be betting. I just don't know what I'm going to do, you know, to call. You know what? I might just fold. I think I might just fold. Oh, that's like the worst. That's like the worst card. That's the worst card in the motherfucking deck to come out is the Jack. Oh, I think even if he has an ace, he's still calling me. Just so sad. What a sad fold this is going to be. It's the world's saddest fold. I fold. It's the world's saddest fold. Alright, Fiesta, you got me. I want you to know that I had a good hand. I wasn't just fucking around. King 9, I think I just limp. Now, I guess it's possible my opponent doesn't have an ace, but I don't think I'm willing to pay the price. You know, 10,000 chips is a lot of chips for me. It looks like he's going to be overbetting these bets, these pots. That's fine. I think by us taking our time, we're really frustrating our opponent. And he's going to be making some bet sizing mistakes against us. Very similar to what he just did. You know, I think it's very fair for him to be making that bet because I am supposed to be raising with an ace. So if I had an ace, then I probably would have raised pre-flop. Pocket jacks, I think I just call. Let's raise. You know, maybe we get re-raised. That would be fun. Oh, that's so much fun! It's the most fun ever! It's the most fun bet ever! Alright, so there's 7,400 in the middle, but I really need to... I don't know what I want to do. Like, I have a choice between calling and moving all in, and I think I'm just going to move on. So, he actually has a really good hand. So it looks like I just need to dodge that. Boo! GG! Boo! 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 Alright, look. So, anyways, we end up, you know, having a pretty short heads-up match. You know, it turns out our opponent, you know, has a really good hand and is very right to be re-raising us pre-flop. So, you know, we end up, you know, if we end up limping, let's say we end up limping, okay? We end up limping, you know, he ends up, you know, say we limp and he ends up raising to like 4,000 or something like that. And let's just say we flat call. You know, obviously all the money gets in here, but like say it doesn't. Like say I'm able to just limp and then see a flop. Like I think that you know, in hindsight, you know, if I'm able to get him to make a raise and then I see a safe flop, and then I'm able to maybe shove this flop, you know, I think ace queen goes away. You know, once ace queen sees these flops. So I guess it's kind of unfortunate to have to race, but I don't think I'm ever putting my opponent on 2 overs to my pocket jacks when we're heads up. Because that would be exactly ace queen or ace king and or pocket kings or queens or aces. So I'm never really putting him on that because it's just so difficult for him to have a better hand than me with pocket jacks. So I kind of felt like if he does have any ace high, he'll probably snap off a bet. So I kind of really wanted to get in a spot where I was not, you know, I want like an ace 10 or an ace 8 or like an ace, you know, just like a worse ace to be calling my all in here. And it turns out he has a pretty decent ace, and we do end up getting sucked out on the river. But you know, I'm not really upset about the way the hand plays out because you know what else am I going to do with the stack that I have? I had 28,000 or 27,000 chips, you know, and we've already seen that Fiesta Fester has been running like God. So does it really surprise you that this guy ends up rivering the best hand? I think not. And we've had our opportunities where we have, you know, rivered some pretty good hands or rivered the best hand. So, you know, I think I was very lucky with my bet against Warger earlier in the tournament, you know, to get Warger to fold, and I was able to position myself to where I had enough chips. And I think I make a really, really interesting call here, which I want to go back to, and I want to talk to you guys really quickly. I know that the tournament is over, but this call here pre-flop with the Jack-8, like I'm saying to myself, you know, I'm actually discussing the hand as it's happening, that he would be very right to be moving all in. And I'm thinking to myself, you know, even if he is moving all in, it's going to be very difficult for me to get Chaos Kid's chips, like, because anytime I raise, my raise has to go through Fiesta Fester. So, you know, if I'm on the button and Chaos Kid's in the big blind and I want to, you know, make a raise to, like, you know, 1400 or whatever I want to make a raise to, Fiesta Fester has shown that he's going to be calling all the time, and he's going to be giving Chaos Kid really good opportunities to be putting squeeze plays on. So I just felt like the only opportunity I'm ever going to have to get Chaos Kid's chips without having to worry about Fiesta Fester is if I make, not a loose call, I guess obviously it's a loose call, but I think it's if I make a call where it's just the two of us. And the only way I'm ever going to get a chance to do that is if I'm willing to gamble, because it's going to be a really, really rare opportunity that I'm sitting here with Ace-King, and I'm just like, oh, of course I call. So the Jack-8 suited, for me, it's probably no worse than 35% dog to whatever, you know, like if Chaos Kid ever has Ace-King, you know, and he's making this move, which I doubt he's making this move with exactly Ace-King, because I think he wants some action. So I think with Ace-King, he maybe raises to like 2100 or something, but if I ever feel like I'm up against two overs for any reason, then I'm still a 35% dog, but I can make this call and still have 10,000 chips, and I can still work with those 10,000 chips. So even though it technically cripples me, by me making this call, I'll end up having a very similar chip stack to what Chaos Kid has right now, and I'm confident enough in my skill set to where, you know, even if I lose the hand, I can still, you know, find ways to run it up, specifically against Fiesta Fester, because I think he's going to be calling me light, and I can find some good spots to run it up. But anyways, I know that I didn't really get a chance to really talk about this hand, but I want you to know that the main reason why I called was because I thought it was probably going to be my best opportunity to get these 12,498 chips over to my side without having to try and do it with Fiesta Fester in the middle, who's just going to be a pain in my ass the entire tournament. Like, there's no way for me to get Chaos Kid's chips without going through this guy. So, unfortunately, I have to be in a spot where I make this decision. And, you know, I probably, you know, if Chaos Kid makes a raise, I probably don't raise him back. Like, it's not like I think Jack-8 is that good a hand, but, like, if Chaos Kid makes a raise to 2100, I'm definitely still defending, you know, my Jack-8 suited. So I was trying to rationalize very quickly, and that's just the way it works out. So it looks like we've been kicked off of the table, but basically that's just the way this hand works out, and we were very lucky to, I forget how this hand ran out. So he ends up so real quick, let's just take a look real quick. I'm gonna pause it as soon as I can. No, that's not it. Hang on. I want to see what the odds are in this hand. Like, what is Jack-8 to his King-3? Okay, so hang on. So he is pre-flop, he is 53%. No, 55%. So think about the situation here. You might be looking at Jack-8 and saying, John, that's a terrible call. But if he ever has like King-3 or Ace-6, you know, or a hand where we have two suited connectors in between, just look at those percentages to where, you know, even though you think you're really far behind, you're really not all that far behind. So sometimes if you want to win a coin flip, you gotta ask for the action, you know, like no one's just gonna give it to you. So, you know, I was kind of hoping to be in a good spot like this, and I definitely was. And he's a 55% favorite, and even when I flop a pair, like, he's just in such good shape here, he's still a, you know, he's still, we've basically flip-flopped percentages. I'm now 55 and he's 45. So we do end up getting lucky and having the cards run out. But I definitely, you know, I think it's something that you guys should consider, that I wasn't just spazzing out. I think it was a little bit more calculated than you guys would think. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and I know it's been a long video. How long has it been? Almost 2 hours now, but at least it's not a 3.5 hour video, so it's basically the same length as your average neighborhood movie. So thank you for watching. If you have any comments about the way I've been playing, definitely leave some comments, but you know, I'll see you guys over at Tuna's Place, and I'll be playing in the charity event tomorrow, the charity satellite, so hopefully we can run it up there too. Alright, talk to you guys soon.